The mountain looks particularly beautiful today. It doesn't get too much higher than what the clouds show. Where the clouds are, it isn't usually snow-capped, but it is at the moment, and it seemed like a good day to begin my archaeological review of this farm. Let me see if I can zoom. Oh yes, look at that. I've never used it. That's the cherry tree house. Moved here in 1983, 100 years after it was built, and it is not part of the original settlement here. Since I'm panning here, there's the house I live in. There beside it are some barns. These are not original. None of those buildings are original, but they are on this area. It was once Conemaugh, and also at one point called Oppenheimer. And that gives you an idea pretty much of where we are. This actually is where I should have been standing, because right here is where the hatch that could be or will be the top of a garden. This is the end of a Bisse, and you can see it's the very end of February, or February 23rd, and we're going to follow that Bisse back into the woods bit by bit. But first we're going to go over here to the corner of that hill, and I'm going to tell you about some of the archaeological features that you can see. I said archaeological features that you can see. Well, actually, mostly you can't see them. That old apple tree right there is about the oldest thing, and possibly that dying oak tree are about the oldest thing, living thing that you can see in the old pictures and maps. That's the pond. Just beyond the apple tree, there was a building of some kind, at the very least that house. Now that's down there by the pond, and just beyond the apple tree, before we come to that lane, there was a building. And again, I don't know what it was, but you can see the foundation of it in some of the very old photographs, and it still leaks water. Down beyond the pond is where I have come to suspect there might have been a small tannery because of the color of the water that leaches out of the ground there, but I do not know. And just this side of that big oak tree, there are features in the ground that I cannot understand. At one point I thought it might have been a double water wheel. I don't know. They are not natural. Just by that brown light pole, there's clay has been dug out, and again I don't know, but I'm telling you these are there. Right at the ford where the lane crosses the creek, there are buildings. Just to the right, maybe I should zoom in, that might be better. Just to the right, there was a building. When I walk along the ditch with my feet, I can feel the stones. It was bulldozed. There was a bridge of some kind that crossed right there, and in among all those thorn trees, those hawthorns, there was extensive, or there is extensive, or there are footprints. It had to do with the mining. That area right over there has open mines. In one of the videos, Andy Perk and iron mining, you can see what it looks like in there. That belongs to my cousin, not to me. That property, our property line goes up through the along the creek. Right there, you can see. Well, there was a small narrow gauge railroad, I think, went up through there, and you can sort of see the straight line. Now the curvy line is a lower Bisse. We're gonna walk, and here you can see maybe that there was once a fence line here, and it was plowed. And that's the remains of some plowing, but that's not so old. We're going to walk up there and look at the Bisse a little bit more. Actually, before I go there, I should say that over that way, about a quarter of a mile, the iron mining extended. and there was a road of some kind that went up through that field. Oh, and that log cabin down there is probably the oldest building still standing in this hollow, but it was changed. It was added on to. Here you can see the Bisse. This is perfectly level, and it rings the hilltop. We're going to follow it to its prise d'eau, it's called in French, where its water supply. It goes back there and then into the woods. That's the way we're going to go. But I wanted to say that a feature here, you might be able to see it, I'm not sure. There's an unexplained feature right there. The ground is higher and it's unnaturally humped up. I suspect that there might have once been an inclined plane here. This whole hillside was worked for iron ore. By that dead tree, standing tree, there is something. Might have been the well. Right about, let me zoom in, right about there. Maybe I am zoomed in, I guess I am. Right about there, there is a spot where the water runs into the ground endlessly and doesn't stop, and I assume that that's attached to the drains that were involved in making that minecart track. That face over there was mined for iron. Just across the creek, there's a level spot that had to do with the ends of those strip mines that go up through there. Right at the edge of the field there, before the hawthorns start, there was something. I don't know what it was. I hit the stones. That's one of those features. That also was the end of various minecart tracks that came down through. But they are so subtle. There you can see the fence row going, the old fence row, and we're going to follow that Bisse now. I think I'll try with each video clip to, well, I hope I'm not covering the sound. I'm going to try to cover, or to always attach it to something you saw before. Now this Bisse the ice is melting. It'll be melted by tomorrow, I suppose. We've had very cold weather for now, but it's warming up. This is actually a saddle right here. And that water going that way and that water going that way actually meet on the far side where I started. And they could come back. That's dead level that whole way around. Now this is a saddle. But right here is a falls. This is named Minnie Falls, named after my grandmother, Minnie Martha Nancy Bottenhorn Camp was her name. Grandpa Jim Camp bought this. That's a falls. This is not. This is the Bisse that we're going to follow back into the woods. There's where we came from, and I say follow it. We're actually going upstream, although the flow is so slow that you can't even see it, but we're going to follow it. Maybe you can see the water flowing. Now the reason this is so crooked is because it's on a perfect contour, and why it goes in and out like that is because this was part of the mining. That gully, I used to think that it was badly eroded from farming or something, but no, that was mined. We're going to go on. There's that same gully, but we're following the Bisse, and there's another gully. Sometimes in agriculture it's called a gully plug, when water or a road is run like that across a gully. But that's not from erosion. That was where the ore was taken down there, and down there was one of those minecart tracks that took the ore out. The footprint is so subtle, though, you can hardly tell. These features that I've dug have names. This is Grandpa Jim Bisse. It goes to Many Falls, named for his wife. We're going to go on that way. But here is Astrid Falls. I can open this as a hatch and prevent the water from going out to the field if I want to. Down there is Thomas Bisse. It's new, very new. And down there is Sarah Falls, named after Thomas and Astrid's daughter. We're going to go along that small cliff face. Now I'm actually standing in the water of the Bisse because the edge is too weak to support my walking. I have rubber boots on, so it's not cold. And I had not understood why this cliff was here, but I do now. It was worked. This is also part of the iron mining. It took me a long time before I realized that, but eventually I did. There is a feature. Let me pan back here. Down there are features that indicate that the minecart track or railroad or whatever came that far. But since everything was being done by hand, pick and shovel, no big machinery, as I said before, the footprint is so subtle. And there was actually in some ways very little damage done by that work. We're going to go up there. That is where we were. This is the water. There's something floating, leaf on the Bisse. The Bisse is carrying water out. That is the natural drain down there. And this is where the water is diverted. It's not a dam. There's no impounded water here. And I should probably get the sound of that water just because it's so quiet and it's so musical right now. So just for the sake of the sound, I'm going to go up here. This is called, I call this Grandpa Jim Dam, but as I say, it isn't really a dam. Now we're in the natural drain. Sadly, this water supply very often goes dry in the summer. And in the next video, we're going to head on up the natural drain to a bridge. But that's going to be the next one.